Today on Locked on Rockies, well, the losing streak to the Cincinnati Reds and losing streak in general comes to a close last night thanks to another big day from Kyle Freeland and Sam Hilliard. Welcome back to the Power Swing.
You are Locked on Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked on Rockies podcast for today, the 11th day of July in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked on Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And the best way to help the show grow, the best way to support the show is by liking the videos, going and subscribing, and leaving reviews on the audio side, especially if you're one of our many Apple Podcast listeners out there. We'd love to see if you wouldn't mind let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Locked on Rockies podcast. Today on the show, of course, we're going to talk about Kyle Freeland's big night. We're going to talk about Sam Hilliard's big night, and we're going to talk about that darn pesky bullpen continuing to be the same darn pesky bullpen we have seen all season long. We're going to dive into all of that and more on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we dive into all the fun today, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. All right, Rockies get a win yesterday after being outscored by the Reds by a score of 18-6. The Rockies played 6 in yesterday's game, just enough to hang on and win. And what's the big story of the offense from last night? Sam Hilliard. Sam Hilliard, again, a guy that has gone through it, a guy that has been trying to break out at the major league level, been with the Rockies, goes to Atlanta, back and forth, finally gets his opportunity. And for him to have a moment like that, for him to have a night like that, and folks that know of the Hilliard legacy, especially with the Rockies, if you're familiar with the Hilliard family and their relationship while Sam was spending his first time with the Rockies before, I think it was last year where he was away from the team, you kind of just know how important that is. And for Sam, it's a guy that it hasn't been able to all come together for throughout his career. But then you can see these flashes, and moments like this, Sam Hilliard can hit the heck out of a baseball, man. Sam Hilliard, I mean, that first home run was an absolute laser beam. That thing was crazy. It was amazing to watch that one go out, because I think so many people were wondering and kind of sitting there like, where did that ball go? what happened? Because it got out, and it got out in a hurry. I mean, and it's for Hilliard, it's his first home runs since last April. So not only, think about that, when you're known for a guy that Sam Hilliard has a minor league record for home runs at Albuquerque. Hitting home runs is what he does. Imagine going over a year and what is that, 3 months in between your home runs. And obviously that has to do with opportunity and performance, but man, it's great. It was a great sign, and it was a great thing to see for the Rockies, mixed in with the fact that the rest of the offense was able to get the job done and do some damage as well. Elias Diaz picks up a couple of hits. Brenton Doyle, another home run for the big fella there. I mean, the point is, when you kind of look at it, and someone tweeted this out to me, maybe I can give him a shout out here, but he said this team has potential, and it's like, yeah, it does. I mean, there are potential. Let's see here. Where is he? Brandon Smith says this team has potential, just needs some relievers. That's what he sent out to me and tweeted out to me. And it's like, sure, but you got to dive deeper. I mean, there is potential here. There is moments like this where you see where the game clicks for the Rockies, and you're like, all right, okay. But again, the biggest problem with this is, as we've been preaching all season long, it's consistency. And it's just, I mean, the problem with me is I'm just not sitting here abundantly confident in the Rockies' abilities to play consistently, to recreate this, to do what they did last night again. I don't think that at least this version, but it is. You sit there and you say, "Oh, there's some moments. There's some promise. There's some this. There's some that." It's all well and good, but you know, we can as much as we're excited about Sam Hilliard, right? Sam Hilliard this year is also still batting, 267, 3. Well, that's not too bad. He's only gotten 15 ABs. So far he's been able to make the most out of his appearances and has been able to do some damage, especially more recently in his last 10 at bats. When you zoom out a little bit further, the picture gets a little bit more murky with 7 strikeouts in that time. But yeah, there is, but is it enough? Is it enough when you look at the roster and when you look at the players and when you look at the performance of this? Is Sam Hilliard going to be able to hang in there and still be in the lineup come when Chris Bryant's back? Is Sam Hilliard going to outperform, the Bouchards and such? Maybe. But until I see all of these guys, until I see the bottom half of the order give me a strong full season, give me a strong full second half, I'm not going to overhype the potential of this team. But I am going to sit there and bask in the good feelings, in the good joy of a good guy like Sam Hilliard having his day. And Sam Hilliard having at least an opportunity right now through 15 at-bats. He's earned at least a shot at being up there. In 15 at-bats, he's gotten 4 hits. 2 of them are home runs. He's driven in 3. He's got 2 stolen bases. That's pretty darn good. And it's a matter of can he keep that up? I mean, because unfortunately throughout the career of Sam Hilliard, we just have not seen much. If the season ended today with just those 11 games for him, his 267 batting average would be the highest since 2019, where he, obviously has a lot more. But you really look at it and he hasn't had a ton of at-bats in the last 2 seasons. He got 174 in 2022. And during that time, 184, 280 OBP with a 264 slugging. So as great as it is, and as awesome as we want to root for the guy, and as much as we can still believe in the potential of the Rockies, it's we can't get over our skis thinking that there's there. I don't think necessarily Sam Hilliard is going to be the answer to all the Rockies' woes, but Rockies players that can hit for power, that is something that'll always be a benefit. That'll always be a bonus. I just think when you zoom out, right? When you zoom out bigger picture for the Rockies and you look at this lineup and you look at the statistical performance of the Rockies when you're as a team, as batters. I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting consistent playing time that are batting under 200. I mean, if you look at it, just going here, if like after Jake Cave and Charlie Blackmon, Montero was batting 205, Bouchard at 200, Greg Jones at 200. And I know a lot of these people only have a handful of at-bats in there too, but just to put some context into this. So Greg Jones, not the best example, but in 85 at-bats, Sean Bouchard batting 200. Nolan Jones in 161 at-bats this season, batting 199. Jordan Beck, before obviously the injury there, 79 at-bats, he was batting 109. Hunter Goodman, 117 at-bats, he's batting 188. Michael Tolia batting 182. So when you're looking at these young guys, and I know they're going through it, they're this, but when you look and you think potential, right? And you think, and when you say those words, you really do need to actually look at the numbers of these guys. You need to look at the numbers of of these young Rockies guys and Nolan Jones. He fits into that as well, and look and see that, oh boy, they're not doing a ton on offense. And that even goes up. Sure, you can go to Charlie Blackmon, but this so far, when you're talking WAR, when you're talking wins above replacement, 0.1 for Charlie Blackmon, 0.1 for Jake Cave. And so there's no one really setting the world on fire when it comes to Rockies offense outside of probably Brenton Doyle. Ryan McMahon has been pretty darn good as well. The strikeout's still a problem, of course, but my point is, as much as as much as it's good to be excited, as much as there are things to like about some of these guys, unfortunately, when the sample size has gotten bigger for some of these guys, we've seen the struggles. And it's not good that the Rockies sometimes are playing games when they have multiple guys batting under 200. And I know batting average isn't the only thing. Go through and look at the OBP, the slugging, the OPS. I mean, you can look at all those numbers and you can see that outside the top three batters in the lineup, top four batters in the lineup, the rest of the Rockies lineup kind of takes a steep decline. I mean, the difference between Elias Diaz's batting average and even Nolan Jones's batting average, and I know Nolan Jones was hurt, but it's nearly 100-point difference. I mean, Hunter Goodman, the difference between Elias Diaz and Hunter Goodman when it comes to batting average is 100. It's a little under 100 and a little less than 110 points. I mean, only two people have OPSs over 1 on the Rockies this year, and it's two guys that have barely played, So my point is there is stuff there is intrigue, but we have to see the bigger picture. We can't just sit when the Rockies start playing well, we can't immediately fall back on and be like, oh, there's potential. There's this, there's that. Yes, there is. Absolutely. But it's also look bigger picture. Compare it to the Rockies that have played well this year, and then compare those numbers. Compare the numbers to other guys on other teams, including the young guys on those other teams. And you'll see that, unfortunately, the warning signs, and maybe it might not just be warning signs about the player specifically, but the warning signs about the consistency and the abilities of this Rockies team come into question. There's too many players that have not really set that have not come out and I don't know, like made their name on right away. But on the flip side, we know that there's still, just because that there's those caveats, those little things, the little asterisks that we're putting on there, doesn't eliminate all the potential, doesn't eliminate the fact that some of these guys can take steps in the right direction, doesn't eliminate the fact that these guys can get better. It's just before we can't fool ourselves after the Rockies break a 3-game losing streak and play a good game, a solid game of baseball up until the 9th inning, that everything is working hunky-dory and everything in the system is going to be okay, because that's ignoring the fact that while you got to give some of these guys more time, they haven't always taken the most advantage of that time, and they haven't always been the best when given opportunities. So it's great to see this night from Hilliard. I just need to see in the second half of the season, kind of like we saw in the Nolan Jones at bats, getting on base multiple times, not trying to do much. I need to see steps forward. I need to see Sam Hilliard now carry this consistency into getting a base hit, being an effective offensive player. And we need to see that consistency roll over throughout all of the Rockies. And that even includes the ones that are having good seasons this year. All right. Talked about the offense. Let's talk about Kyle Freeland. Let's talk about his return, and let's talk about how good he has been for the Colorado Rockies in his last 4 starts. We're going to do that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Stitch Fix. I'm not the best when it comes to shopping for clothes, picking things out, choosing outfits. Ask my wife. I'm definitely not very good at color coordinations or anything like that. But that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good. That's what you get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. You just give your stylist your size, your style, and budget preferences. Then you'll order boxes when and how you want to. No subscription required. They send 5 just for you pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. You keep what works and you send back the rest. Stitch Fix makes you look so easy. It makes you look good so easily, and you don't just shop. You get to save time and effort because you got that stylist helping you. They're going to take care of all of that for you. And if you don't love it, send it back. Now, style that makes you feel as good as you look. Now is the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $100 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids' fixes. We are also brought to you by Tax Network USA. And don't worry if you still have to deal with the IRS, because Tax Network USA has got you covered. Because here on Locked On Rockies, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion. Yes, that's $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon, and be sure to mention Locked On Rockies at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. Shout outs to all of our everydayers out there. Appreciate all of you for tuning in and joining us here as we're breaking down more Rockies baseball. If you want to join us, go check us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel or on your favorite streaming services. And remember, if you need more sports coverage, Locked On Sports Today has got you covered with a 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV app. Just check it out there. All the sports, all the hosts from the Locked On Network, breaking it all down 24/7. And SiriusXM's got you covered for your Rockies play-by-play all season long. Just check it out there on the SiriusXM app or SiriusXM. All right, we were talking about the Rockies win last night. We're talking about consistency. We're talking about, again, I do want to emphasize there, even though I was critical there, I want to emphasize what a great night for Sam Hilliard. What a great moment. What an opportunity for him to build momentum for himself. And you know what? What also is great to see? One of my favorite Rockies on this roster, probably of all time, Kyle Freeland goes out there and deals again. Freeland has given up 2 or fewer earned runs in 4 straight starts, and he allowed 2 runs in 8 hits with 1 walk in 6 2/3 innings. The defense came in and helped, but it's the confidence that Kyle brings. That's the Kyle Freeland we've been expecting. That's the Kyle Freeland we were hyping up this year. That's the potential of Kyle Freeland again. And just like we were kind of talking about with the offense, is Kyle Freeland going to be a Cy Young? Is Kyle Freeland a number 1 on other rosters? No. But the Kyle Freeland that we've seen over the last 4 starts, that's the more true version of Kyle Freeland. People forget, and you get caught up in the starts, you get caught up in last year, you get caught up in some of these things, and you ignore that Kyle Freeland, more often than not in his career, has been a successful and at times dominant pitcher. The best version of Kyle Freeland the Rockies can get is basically that one last night, because the strikeouts are key. Kyle Freeland is elite at getting weak ground ball contact, getting double plays, and having his defense back him up. But on the flip side, when he's able to turn to his stuff, when he's able to turn to his strengths, and he's still able to get 9 strikeouts, that's a massive game changer for the Rockies. It shows and it highlights having strikeout potential, has to be a tool in your tool belt for the Rockies pitching staff. It has to be for anybody. But this year, as a whole, we've seen the Rockies as a pitching staff. It's 2 strikeouts, 3, and Freeland's been in this. But it changes the entire flow. It changes the momentum of the game. It changes the mentality of your team when your pitcher can go out there and strut off the mound after striking Ellie De La Cruz out, after putting people down, after setting people down in big situations. Those outs matter. The momentum and the abilities to strike batters out is so crucial and clutch. And it highlights, again, why it matters. I mean, part of the reason why Kyle Freeland has been able to be so successful over his last few starts is the fact that he's able to strike batters out. In the last 3 starts, because let's see here. We'll go. Let me get the 4. Let's get the 4. So in his last 4 appearances, Kyle Freeland has at least gotten 3 strikeouts. That's kind of similar to where he was, but before these 4 appearances, he had gotten the most amount of strikeouts that Kyle Freeland had in the start this season was 3 against Toronto back in April. Every other time he had only gotten 2 strikeouts. In the last 4 appearances, 3 has been the lowest amount of strikeouts that Kyle Freeland has had. He struck out 4 against Washington. He struck out 5 against Kansas City, and he struck out 9 against Cincinnati last night. That matters. It matters big time that the strikeout is returning to Kyle Freeland, because that's what we were talking about going into this season. Increased velocity, increased control, increase of this, that. Everything was looking and working better for Kyle Freeland right now. They're still hitting him. I think one thing that you have to remember too and consider about Kyle Freeland is he has in these 4 starts, he other than the 1 hit ball that he threw against Washington, he has given up at least 7 hits and 2 runs in the last 3 starts. It hasn't been completely clean. It hasn't been necessarily shutout dominance, but it's still quality starts. It's still quality pitching, and it's still keeping the Rockies in situations in which they are in better opportunities to win ball games. There's still a couple of things. He still got tagged for a home run, still walked a batter, but that still cuts down from when in April he was walking at least 2 batters a game. The improvements there, the length is there. The other big thing that's important about these last Kyle Freeland starts too, before Kyle Freeland's start against Washington in these 4, Kyle Freeland hadn't gone further than 5 innings in a game. He's now gone at least 6 in his last 4 starts, and maybe 6 in some change, including going 7 against Kansas City, and was on pace for if things started going a little bit, if he was able to get a little bit more dominance there, he could have had gotten 7 innings again last night. Got to the 2 outs, and then things got there. He got outs quickly. I believe he was heading into the 7th and at 79 pitches or heading into something like that. So the point is Kyle Freeland the best pitcher in the league? Is Kyle Freeland the best? No, but he is a really good pitcher, and he's got a nice, unique skill set that when everything's working, it's working. It's got its issues. If he's not hitting his spots, if he's inconsistent, if he's missing his spots, he'll get burned. Kyle Freeland has given up, 5 home runs this year. He has given up earned runs in 3 out of the 4 last starts, even in this stretch. But he manages to keep himself in the game, keeps the Rockies in the games, limits the damage, and even zooming out when you're looking at earned runs allowed for Freeland, even past this, he hasn't. It's the first 2 starts of the season that are dooming him right now, where he gave up 17 earned runs in his first 2 starts. He hasn't given up more than 4 earned runs since then. And he hasn't given up 4 earned runs, in the last 5 starts. I'm sorry, 4 starts for him. So the improvement's there. Now it's, again, just like we were talking about with Sam Hilliard. And I know it's been 4 starts, but consistency. If the Rockies are going to get this version of Kyle Freeland going forward throughout the rest of the season, if he can match this, if he can recreate this, if he can continue this flow, and there'll be bad starts that happen in there. That happens. It's baseball. But if this is more the norm, the Rockies are going to be a little bit better in the second half. Not much better, but they will be better, and you'll feel more confident in the Rockies' ability to win ball games when Kyle Freeland's on the bump. got to talk about the pesky bullpen. Got to wrap things up and get ready for a real early day game today as the Rockies are going to be finishing things up with the Reds here this afternoon. We'll be talking about that coming up here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. Yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even if you're going to watch the Dodgers, the Padres, or the Diamondbacks, or even the Giants. Because you know what's cool about the NL West? All of those places, pretty darn cool places to go visit. So why not go check out all the options available to you at Booking.com and make a really great baseball trip out of it. I took a baseball trip with my dad a few years ago. We did the road trip style. Booking.com, super helpful in getting us options, where we want to go, what should we look for, and great deals. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this Major League Baseball season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. We're also brought to you by Game Time. So you use Booking.com to book where you need to go, and now you need tickets to the game. Well, Game Time's got you covered because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those Major League Baseball tickets. You're asking what's all in prices? Well, you click a button on Game Time and it's going to show you this is the price, fees, boom, everything, nothing hidden, all straight up. This is what you're paying for per ticket and what you're paying for. You can also get your choice of where you're going to sit because you can see the image. You can see exactly where you're going to sit in the arena, at the stadium, at the ballpark, all from Game Time. You can check it out. And like I said, they got last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more when you download the Game Time app and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing in your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Shout outs again to our everydayers out there, all of you tuning in every day. You rule. Thank you. Appreciate it. And if you're tuning in for the first time, you rule. I appreciate you joining us and hanging out with us here on the lovely Locked On Rockies podcast. Okay, so the bullpen stunk again. Well, Victor Vodnik didn't stink until this is the issue. Bud Black. maybe he's feeling limited, but it's like just maybe throwing the overworked rookie that has more pitches thrown in a situation in which that you really don't need Victor. You really don't want to have Victor Vodnik be going 2 multiple innings. And I don't know. He can, but I see Victor Vodnik kind of in that closer role. But the Rockies obviously don't have a closer, where I want Vodnik to come in and throw 100-mile-per-hour gas and blow people away, get 3 outs, and call it. I don't really know how much and how comfortable we should be asking Victor Vodnik to get 7 outs, which is what he was asked to do yesterday. And it just highlights again where what is the Bud Black philosophy there? Is it Bud Black just realizing what he's done? But is Victor Vodnik just going to be the next Rockies young arm that got overworked and then can't work it back, a la Justin Lawrence and down the line? But I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's just one of this bullpen. It really is. I mean, there's no other way to say it other than the broadcast is nothing's easy. I really don't have any analysis for you. I don't have any groundbreaking things. For whatever reason, in the ninth inning when the Rockies have a multi-run lead. I don't know if it's they relax a little. I don't know if it's this. I don't know if it's that. But for the fact of the matter is, it's another ninth inning in which the Rockies very well could have lost that game. Ellie De La Cruz is up with the winning runs on base. Sam Hilliard, the throwing error. I mean, why things tend to unravel so quickly in the ninth inning and so frequently in the ninth inning is beyond me. Because now, unfortunately, when I'm watching these games, I can't sit here and necessarily say I'm abundantly confident in the Rockies' ability to get the job done, even with the lead. Every single time, unfortunately, now with the Rockies going in with the lead into the ninth, I'm going in with the mentality of, I think they're going to lose. Like, I don't have really any faith in this bullpen, and it all starts with the fact that this team doesn't have a closer. The fact that the Rockies can't warm somebody up to just come in and shut the door is a massive problem. And it's going to be a problem that continues to perk up and come back and haunt the Rockies throughout the rest of the season. Because, I mean, the bullpen's bad, but the bullpen's also already been overworked. They're also in situations where people have thrown a ton, and we haven't even hit the halfway point of the season yet. I know we're close. I know we're basically there, but it is the fact of the matter is, what is going to be different in the second half for this bullpen after it just went through all of that in the beginning and in the first half of the season and got all that work and all that stuff? Maybe it'll put them in a groove. Maybe it warms them up. Maybe it's putting them in a situation to be successful in the second half of the season. But it is so exhausting. It is so tiresome to go into the ninth with a lead and doubt this team. Because unfortunately, there's just nothing happening with the bullpen that sits here. You know what? I do give props to Victor Vodnik. He was throwing gas yesterday. 2 strikeouts, painting 100 miles an hour, top of the zone. I mean, that's awesome. But but still with Victor Vodnik and Jalen Beeks, they gave up 3 earned runs in 2 innings. The quality start from Kyle Freeland was a threat again. So as much as there's potential, we were talking potential, this bullpen is going to be the thing that sinks a lot of that potential this year. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. We'll be recapping the series, talking Rockies Reds after their finale here and breaking it all down and wrapping up the week here as another week of Locked On Rockies comes to a close tomorrow after we break things down. But thank you so much for making us your first listen today. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking us out here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Or if you need more Colorado sports coverage, check out Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs. All available free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.